Subscribing to The Observer on YouTube couldn't be easier, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that. First, navigate to www.youtube.com/theobservernj. Once you get there, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button. Next to the subscribe button, click the down arrow and then all. And that's it. You're subscribed, and now anytime The Observer is live, you will be notified.
Hi again, everybody. It's Kevin Canessa coming to you live from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com on this, the 23rd day of December in the year 2025. Sure hope you're enjoying your Tuesdays, no matter where it is you are in the country. Here in the Northeast, it's miserable out. It was all morning, and it continues to be that way right now. It's raining. It's just cold and rainy. What is the temperature right now? 36 degrees. So it's just holding on from turning into snow. So I guess that's the good news, where all the DPWs around this area are related, but it is just rainy and miserable for the most part so far today. But as you do each and every Tuesday, welcome you into your home so that I can bring you this week's news, and you know I certainly have a lot to get to today. And before I do, I want to welcome in two dear friends who are here. Pat Long is watching us on her vacation from the post office. Patty, enjoy your vacation. We miss you already. And Kim Ventoso is also here watching with us along the way, too. And I know there are, I'm sure, plenty of people in the background who don't like to use the chat feature. So to anybody who's watching in the background, I know you're there, and I appreciate the fact that you are. Now we welcome in Kim's husband, Manny Ventoso Jr. Merry Christmas to you, brother, and to Kim and all the kids. Manny is joining us from somewhere around town, I'm sure, or one of the towns where he goes and does incredible work. So it's always good to see Manny. Barbara Condon is joining us as well from the state of New York. Barbara, hope you're doing okay. I'm sure you're covered in the white stuff, if not now, very, very soon. And then somebody who doesn't know what snow is at all is also here with us, and that's my friend and longtime friend, Bill Scarterfield, who is out in Arizona. And I'm sure it's not anything like it is right here at 36 degrees. Billy, always good to see you and everybody who's here. Teresa Santos is also here with us. Teresa, thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it. You guys could be doing anything else, but you're here instead. So thank you. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of take a step back to Saturday night when I was sitting at home, and I get a phone call, which is not common on a Saturday night. And it was later part was like, I guess it was like 7:00, and it came from Chief Scott McPhee. If he's calling on a Saturday, you know right away something is going on. And I was kind of like worried that something was going to be up, but I just had no idea what it was. And that's when he explained to me that there had been someone who was shot with a bow and arrow. But there wasn't much else that could go out at that point in time because it was so fresh. It was just like the first hour of the incident when he had called me, and there were so many things that were unknown at that point in time. So the chief asked if I would go live and dispel any rumors about what was going on, to explain what had happened. And for people who are in the area of Kearney Avenue between Johnston and Woodland to stay the heck away, because it was a shelter-in-place order that was put in place to keep everybody from harm in that area. So I did go live, and it was not about 2 or 3 hours later that I had heard that there was a photo out of the victim with the arrow stuck in his back, and somebody sent it to me. And I realized, I think at that point, how serious the situation was, and that somebody was likely dead, but I couldn't speculate at the time. I wasn't going to speculate. And there was, of course, a lot of unknown at that point in time. So, when somebody tells you that there is a man who was struck by a bow and arrow. I had to think about it for a minute and think, like, am I hearing things right now? Is this really happening? But it, sadly enough, was. It most certainly was a real situation. And somebody lost his life. And we cannot lose sight of that fact, because throughout all of this, that is the biggest tragedy. But let me get back to that. I want to just continue along. And so, knowing that there was a situation, I was kind of like in a complete awareness that I wasn't going to fall asleep anytime. And if I did, it probably wouldn't be for a long stretch. So I did go to sleep after Saturday Night Live. And for some reason, I got up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. It was a little bit after 5:15, maybe a little bit even past that, when I get a text message from Skylar Whitehead that there's a fire, and I think they announced it as either 20 or 22 Kearney Avenue, and I think the actual number is not one of those. It's one of those, but I don't know. So I just happened to be awake. I read Skylar's text that this fire broke out on Kearney Avenue, and I said to myself right away, I responded to him. I asked him if he was going to go, because for those of you who don't know who Skylar is, he has been an extraordinary fire photographer for over 10 years now, and he's now doing it for a living with his YouTube page, which is Skylar Fire on YouTube, SKYLERFIRE on YouTube. So please do check that out. And we've stayed in touch all the years after he moved out of Kearney and whatnot, and he tells me that this building is on fire again. At that moment, I kind of had a bad feeling that it was somehow connected to the shooting from the last night, because it was in the exact same vicinity. And lo and behold, that's what we did find out. And for a long period of time, people were under shelter in place. And during the day, on Sunday, I went down with Councilman Facito. We spent a couple hours down, about 2 hours down there. And the thing was, though, that nobody could get through, because the guy still hadn't surrendered yet. And apparently was giving the police a hard time and the SWAT team a hard time. But eventually he did surrender. And that was certainly a relief. But while they were fighting this fire, the firefighters of Kearney and all other towns that came in, you see right there, if you take a look at this still picture that I've had up on the screen, you see at least 4 or 5 SWAT members right there on the right-hand side of the picture by Bubba Land Laundromat. And then you see a little bit more to the left that the water is shooting at the second floor of the fire. So those firefighters were out there as sitting ducks in many ways, because the guy who had the bow and arrow was still barricaded inside the house at this point in time. So just you can't lose sight of that, how absolutely heroic it was what they did. Every single person who was at the scene of that incident was beyond measure the heroism that they showed. So I'm sorry that I'm a little bit all over the place today, but the bottom line is, when he did surrender, there was great relief. There was tremendous relief. But I'm going to go back to that in a few moments, because what I want you to see first is a stunning video that was sent to me by a dear friend, and it's of a fire captain, the only person who was injured at all. And by the way, that captain has already checked out of the hospital, and he's doing well. I am authorized to say that. So that same fire captain who you're going to see in a few minutes being dragged out is doing very, very well. So, but this is where they were, at this point in time, the firefighters did not have this guy was not in custody, so they had to be very, very cautious in the way that they removed him from the fire. But here is the video of this happening, and it is absolutely remarkable. I should have said that it comes toward, you'll see them where the SWAT team is, you'll see the member being pulled out. So just keep your eyes over there if you can. That was something. Now, I don't know whether that's how somebody would. I don't think that's how somebody would normally be pulled out of a fire scene. Maybe it is. I apologize if it is. If Eddie McEwen is around, he'll let us know for sure. But what you notice and what is so stark about that particular clip is that as they're pulling him out, everybody's bent down. And there's a reason why that is. Obviously they're closer to the ground, but they have to be very cautious about where they go. There was numerous SWAT people set up at that point in time. So they're taking a great risk, are the guys who are helping him too, because they are just exposed so magnificently, and it just blows my mind that that's what they did. It's really, really something else. But it's so good to hear that he's okay. It really is. But what I wanted to do is just to illustrate just how difficult a situation this was. I want to show you a clip of a couple of minutes, courtesy of Skylar Whitehead, of the actual fire, because you really, sometimes what you just saw there may not explain it, and this still photo doesn't give it really much justice. But when you see this video that Skylar took, you'll understand why this situation was as grave as it was.
Yeah, they had some kind of incident here earlier about a person that got shot with a bow and arrow. The SWAT team was on scene, so I guess it has something to do with that.
That's Skylar Whitehead speaking there.
Fire, go ahead. Silver Fire, do you have car and your location, please? Dispatch from Tower 2A. Stand by. Get back. Tower 2A is now in for one officer. Hold your message. I can get more people out there. I want to start over to Section 1, command. Dispatch to command.
So there was Skylar Whitehead's video, and I think that demonstrates just what a difficult situation this was. And, you know, I was speaking with one of the Kearney police officers who is also a member of the Hudson County Regional SWAT team. And, you know, I just asked this simple yet silly question. Is this the weirdest that you've ever been involved in? And he said, yes. But then he said, you know, we train for so many things. We train for just about every scenario there is. But how do you train for a situation where somebody shoots a bow and arrow off and kills a man, and then that same man turns the building and sets it on fire? You know, there is no manual that could properly train a human being for something like that. And so many instincts must have kicked in that day. The absolute knowledge that any step taken could have been a fatal mistake, you know, going wherever at any point in time, because they didn't know for sure where this guy was. I think it turned out he was in the basement because the fire was on the upper floor. But just think about that. They still did it despite all of those dangers that they faced. And, you know, sometimes it takes a tragedy to have a greater realization for the first responders. But moments like this show us why we are very, very fortunate in Kearney and in most of this area, too, to have the police force that we do and the fire department that we have. Because that type of work is not normal when you think about it. It just isn't. There is a natural instinct and reaction to go away from fires, and they go toward it. So that is just remarkable. It is just remarkable what they do. It truly is. And when you think about the reality that a man who has several children, one of whom I understand is 6 years of age, you know, you think about a tragedy like this. He was walking home, He didn't want to take the bus home that day, so he walked home. And it cost him his life. But he was walking home, it says the TV news, to go to the store and buy a table so that all the presents for the kids could be laid out on the table. A tragedy like that is something we are not used to around here, thank God. And how is that possible when you consider that we are bordered by two major metropolitan cities? Three, really, if you include New York. It is just too much sometimes to process that we did go through it. in the last couple of days. There were 2 days where people were were sort of on edge and nervous, but everybody pulled together. Everybody pulled together. Whether it was the church that opened its doors and canceled services so that people could have a warm place to be and eat. Whether it was Smiley donating pizza to all the people who were eating, who had nothing else to eat. It's just mind-boggling, really, when you think about it, how people banded together. Councilwoman Marytrine DeCastro was on the scene for the entire day on Monday, the mayor was there. So was Joe Rodriguez and Fred Esteves and Jerry Facito. They spent a good chunk of their day at that fire scene on Sunday, and to help the people who lost a loved one, whoever was in need, they were there. So sometimes during the worst moments of society and our lives, we see the best in humanity. We see the best in the people of this town who somehow pull together in the darkest and worst moments possible. And that's why I find it almost unfathomable to believe that someone would actually use this tragedy as a political weapon. But believe it or not, that is precisely and exactly what happened yesterday. Somebody used this fire and this loss of life to make a political statement, the likes of which I have never seen in this area before, because it was one of the most repulsive and disgusting things I have ever heard in my life. I'm not even going to say the guy's name, but I'm going to play a clip from his video. I'm not going to show you the video itself because I don't want his face to get on the screen. He's not worthy of it. But I'm going to play the words that he spoke yesterday about the mayor of Kearney. And then when I finish playing those words, I'm going to come back and explain to you why he may be the dumbest person on this planet who doesn't understand how the process works when you are the mayor of a town and a homicide has occurred. But you need to hear it in his own words first to see how dumb he is and how absolutely irresponsible making a comment like this is. And I don't care who the mayor of the town is. I don't care if it's Mayor Santos, Mayor Vartan, Mayor Hill, Mayor Sansone. It doesn't matter who, Mayor McIntyre, it doesn't matter who the mayor is. When somebody makes a comment about the mayor like this, which you're about to hear, he should be held accountable. Listen for yourself, though.
Now, I do need to address a serious concern. Nearly 48 hours passed after this homicide before the mayor issued any statement at all. And when it finally came, it was only a written statement. While an acknowledgement is better than silence, it came too little. It was too little, too late. It wasn't enough. This was a murder in Kearney. The Criollo family deserves better. Kearney deserves better. In the nearly 48 hours following this tragedy, the mayor did find time, though, to attend local events, take photos, and post on social media. But not to promptly and directly address a community that was grieving, shaken, and demanding answers. We're not a big city where violent crime is routine. This is not something that happens every day. This is Kearney. Moments like this demand leadership that is visible, present, and accountable. Delayed and minimal communication sends the wrong message to residents who are concerned for their safety. Our first responders showed leadership. Now our elected officials must do the same. Kearney residents deserve transparency, accountability, and leadership, especially when it matters most.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm sorry, they didn't get a chance to unmute the microphone there for a second. But I want to explain to you a little bit why this guy may be the dumbest person to ever roam this earth. Because if he knew government and he knew how municipalities work, including the town of Kearney, by the way, which he has no clue about, you would understand that he just has no idea what he's doing or what he's saying. When a person is murdered, immediately the case is taken over by the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office. They were involved in every single homicide. The Hudson County Prosecutor's Office is involved, no matter what. At that point, they have to determine as much information as they can before they bring it to the media, to people like me. And sometimes it takes days, multiple days, before this can happen. In this case, the Hudson County prosecutor released its first details about the homicide at around 10:30 on Monday morning. And for this guy to say that she waited for 48 hours before she made a statement, as if that's some kind of thing to be embarrassed about, that statement is what's embarrassing here. Because when these things happen, and if he were ever elected, he would know this, what the prosecutors must do is tell the mayors and the members of the councils when there's a homicide that they cannot speak until the prosecutor has released information. And we weren't anywhere near that on Sunday to be at a place where she would have been able to go out there and make a statement about this. The prosecutor frowns upon it. And Mayor Doyle is one of the people in this country who still follow the letter of the law. Although there are some who tend to not do that anymore. But she happens to be one of the ones who follows the letter of the law. And so to make that into a political statement that she waited 48 hours to make a statement is not only just obscene, she was doing nothing wrong by not making a statement, because that's what she and anybody who is elected would do. Now, I'm sure there are people who violate it all the time, but she doesn't break the rules for things like that. And I'm going to tell you that she spoke to me well before that and gave me a statement to put on theobserver.com. She shouldn't have done that necessarily. but it was out there. So to say that she didn't know or she waited too long is just as disingenuous as it comes. It really is. And then to say that she was out there posting photos on social media is about as obscene as it is too, because one of the photos that she posted was from an event for young people, and the other was this one. That was the other photo that she posted on social media that day. And do you know who that is on the right-hand side of that picture? It's her husband, Norman, the late Norman A. Doyle Jr. That was one of the two pictures that she posted on social media. And do you know why she chose that day? It's because it's around the anniversary of his death. That's why those pictures were up. That's why those pictures were up. And if a wife is not allowed to mourn the reality that her husband is no longer here, even when other tragedies are happening at the same time, then to hell with you. Because that's where you belong. It's that simple. So, I've said a lot about this in the aftermath of what happened. But I could not say something, because this crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. And it's just remarkable that somebody would ever do this in the light of a tragedy like this. Now, also this weekend, Councilwoman Marytrine DeCastro had a great event. Sorry, I'm having trouble speaking today. I have no idea why that is. A wonderful event for more than 70 children over the weekend, and this took place at the American Legion. Santa is there. That's the great Jack Dunphy playing Santa. And so many kids had a beautiful day. And you see there's gifts everywhere. And this was an enormous undertaking for Marytrine. It's the second time she's done it. And she brings so much joy to the children in that short amount of time that they get to spend together. So I'm going to have a full recap on this in the the December 31st edition of the Observer. But I wanted everybody to get a chance to see this, especially if you didn't go, because she really does put a lot of time and effort into this, and it really does change the lives of those little kids who get something. Sometimes maybe they wouldn't even, you never know. And it was just a marvelous day that Marytrine put on, and I'm so grateful to her for sharing all of that with us, because she does a great job. She truly does. It is 5 minutes past the hour. Kevin Canessa here with you on the Observer Live. Before I sign off, I want to thank all of you for joining us today and for joining us as you do each and every week. I don't often say this enough, but on behalf of Lisa, Bob, Tina, Michelle, myself, we are so grateful to all of you, because you spend your time with us when you could be doing whatever it is you want. And that means more than I could ever say. So this holiday season, this Christmas season, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and the best for 2026. We all love you very, very much, and thank you for the support that you continue to show us day in and day out. We will be back 1 week from today with a look back at 2025. From the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com, it's Kevin Canessa. I'm signing off for now, and we hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.